Hi, it's Rachel. So I'm going through Revelation 21, and it is showing a picture of what is coming. And the whole idea is to set our minds on where we want to head, okay? So that we are making our choices and decisions in alignment with that and not contrary to it. Because entering into the kingdom of heaven is for those who are being purified and sanctified and turning away from the things of the world, that they are having their life built on a foundation of honor and truth and respect and loving kindness and mercy. Okay, so it's a very real purification that we are going through in our mind, in our thoughts, and our actions, okay, that allow us to come in and be a part of the kingdom, because the kingdom is going to be established through God's people. It's by our transformation, because as your mind is purified, you start receiving more of the wisdom of God and understanding, thus the plans of how God wants to use you to establish his kingdom in this earth. Okay, God is using us to bring it about. Okay, it's all by his power and his spirit, not by our own. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But it's important to understand, because there's a choice right now that is being revealed about what people have chosen, okay? What kingdom to be a part of. And in this one, okay, so in Revelation 21:10, again, he says, he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain. And remember, Moses went up on the mountain to the glory of God. It's like that as we go up to Mount Zion, which is the truth, okay? Because the truth is like a mountain in your life, it builds layer upon layer. So when you get a certain amount of understanding, which purifies you, because the word sanctifies you, so when you get to a amount of understanding, you're meeting God on that mountain, the people that have been seeking him and building that, and they're starting to receive the revelation from God of how his kingdom is going to be built on this earth, because they're going to be part of that process. Okay, just like he gave the instructions to Moses, then he came down and implemented them. It's a similar thing. Okay, and he showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. It is going to be built by the Spirit of God, the revelation of God, the wisdom and the understanding of God. Okay? All the systems of this world have been built upon and feed corruption. Those systems are going to start to come down and crumble, those foundations to fall, and meanwhile other systems, ways of operating, are going to start to be raised up. So having the glory of God, her light was like a most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. The light is the understanding, okay? Those that are part of the New Jerusalem, the people make up the New Jerusalem, but it's also the processes, the systems, the new ways that we're going to be operating and functioning as a society, as a culture, as a world. Okay, because that all flows from us. Okay, so it includes all those things. And that light is so clear because that understanding is going to be of God, and it's going to be full of wisdom, full of truth, which this new way of operating and connecting will be built upon. She also had she also had a great and high wall with 12 gates and 12 angels at the gates, and the names written on them, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Okay, this goes on a little bit later. I'll talk about these gates in a minute. Verse 13. Okay, so 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west. This unity that you're seeing in this structure is showing that there is unity, there is peace, there is equality, there is a harmony, okay, that this is built upon. And that's what it's showing in these. But I'll get into a minute later on these verses, explain what these things are. But that's why you see such this structure, okay? It says, now the wall of the city had 12 foundations. We're the wall, okay? Because when you read in verse 17, it says, and he measured its wall 144 cubits according to the measure of a man, that is, of an angel. Okay, these are those people that have transcended in their spirit, no longer a man of the earth, but a transformed spirit being. It is the 144 representing that 144,000, the sealed of God. Okay, that's the wall, because you are shown, because the people that are coming in are sanctified, they're purified, they operate from a mind established by God. Their thoughts are established by God. Their mind is like the mind of Christ. Okay, so they're doing everything that's in accordance with the will of God, just like Christ did. So that's why the wall, so what is surrounding, which is also its guard, because that truth is your shield. That's why we are the wall. Okay, the people that are part of this are the wall. Amazing. Okay, so back up to verse 14. It says, and on them were the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And if you go to Ephesians 2:19, let me turn there really quick and read that for you. Because its foundation of the apostles is the truth. Okay? The understanding and the truth and the words that they were speaking of God. Okay? And so in Ephesians 2:19, it says, now therefore you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and the members of the household of God, having been built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ being the chief cornerstone. This is the truths, the understanding, the wisdom, the ways of God. That's what all those people talked about. That's what their purpose was, their calling. And certainly Jesus Christ, the Word of God himself, a reflection of the very divine nature of God. That's what this foundation is. In whom the whole building being fitted together grows into a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you also are being built together for a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. Okay, it's all about our sanctification, purification, to be coming into a place where we're becoming a dwelling place of God. And when we are sanctified and purified, then we love perfectly, okay? And that's our desire. So we're always growing in love, we're always expanding and increasing, but that is where you're at. And when you have that with other people, then there is harmony, there is peace, because there is a gentleness and a caring and a loving kindness that happens. Okay, so those are the people who are going to be part of this city, because you're going to be able to plug in and lock into this spiritual city that's going to be reflected in a new world systems, new world processes, new ways of functioning and operating. And the way that you become a part of all of that is by coming and having your foundation built on the truths of God. Okay, in verse 15, he says, and he who walked with me had a gold reed to measure the city, its gates and its walls. The city was laid out as a square, its length is as great as its breadth, and he measured the city with a reed, 12,000 furlongs. Its length, breadth, and height are equal. Again, that's what you're saying is the perfection of God. And often that 12 is, you see that in God's government and his reigning. It's that perfect reign, okay, and the perfection and the quality of it that is being established. That's what those numbers and everything being equal, that's part of what it's representing. And again, I already read verse 17, right, about the 144. and that being the wall. Okay, so the construction of its wall was of jasper, and the city was pure gold like clear glass. Gold represents our faith. The faith is pure, meaning your trust, life, everything that you operate, all that you do is from the wisdom of God. It's pure. It's totally clear. It doesn't have any corruption of the world. Doesn't have any lies. It's not mixed. Okay, like talking about like the mixed wine. That's what it means. A little bit of truth, a little bit of lies. No, your faith is pure. And so again, this is describing the nature of the people who make up this new reality, this new way of living and being. In verse 19, the foundation of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. Okay, so then it goes through all those stones. These stones are the truths. That's what they represent. Just like the gold represents the refined faith, it's representing the different aspects of God. When you are built in your life and you seek God, He starts teaching you what righteousness is, what grace means, what loving kindness is, what humility means. And all these different gems, that's really what they are. Because when you start understanding what they are, that's what they are. That understanding and wisdom is everything. Okay? Because that's what shapes your perspectives, that shapes your actions, your understanding, it shapes your faith. So all these gems are all those different understandings of the foundations of what God's kingdom sets upon. So the businesses that are to be a part of this kingdom, however those look, those are going to be built upon those principles, the principles of peace and being a peacemaker. And that's one thing in this time is that, this world is full of death and fear and suffering and destruction, okay? It's a divided kingdom that doesn't stand. So that's why the sons of God are peacemakers, because the actions that they're taking aren't to create more suffering and fear and death. Okay? God is coming and bringing in His kingdom, and it is of peace and love and righteousness. So that's why we want to be walking in those things now. Okay? Because when we walk in them now, that sanctifies us, purifies, teaches us so that we can be a place where His Spirit dwells, and we can be a part of that kingdom and that whole network that He's building among those who truly are walking in His ways. And it's going to be this extensive, harmonious, interconnected reality, because it's a reality that God's creating. It's very powerful. So it says in verse 21, the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each individual gate was of one pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, like transparent glass. Again, the way you walk is by faith, pure faith. That's that gold. But the pearl, okay, and this is what I really want to emphasize, and this is why it's so relevant for us right now. And you have to have this vision of where we're headed, okay? Because the vision of where you're headed totally affects your actions today that leads you in that direction. And in Matthew 13, it talks about the pearl. In verse 45, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Okay, so here again is a choice. First of all, are you seeking? Are you seeking for the truth, for what it means to walk in the ways of God? And when you start finding those ways, you sell all, okay? When you start understanding what love is and walking in divine love, you don't want anything that's counter to it. So that means you sell all for that. You would rather whatever it is in your life, whatever choices you make, relationships, the acts that you do, the things that you partake of, you sell all to walk in that loving kindness, to walk in that truth, because that is the gate that brings you into the kingdom of heaven. Because that mindset is what purifies you. Because as long as you think that you can continue to abide in lusts of the flesh, lusts of the eyes, sins, and don't realize it's about moving out of those, then you're not going to enter in. You're not selling all for that pearl. The pearl is the understanding. It's the wisdom. Okay? It is leaving all of your old life and your old ways and seeking to walk in a new way and in a new life by a new mind. And that's the process that internal teacher of God shows you. All right, so that is why that is a very important understanding about selling all for that pearl and not doing the opposite like Esau did, where he sold and gave up the pearl, the birthright, into the kingdom of heaven for the lust of the flesh, for a morsel of food. Okay, so these are the very real choices and decisions that we make. And so we make the right ones when we have the understanding and wisdom. That's why it's so important to get understanding. So let me just finish up this chapter. So in verse 22 it says, "But I saw no temple in it, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are its temple." He's in us. In this, it's the Spirit of God being unified to us. That's why it's like a bride to a husband. It's a unity, because that's the only way that we can walk in this kind of purity that this is describing, is if we are one with that Spirit. But that's how we get one with the Spirit of God, by choosing it. Remember, because we saw all those that are unbelieving, murderers, sexually immoral, those that are choosing the things of the world, they're not thirsting for righteousness, they're staying in the refining fire. So you have to choose that. Okay, but because it's a purification, sanctification that you need in your life to become a vessel that can even contain the Spirit of God. But it's that very Spirit of God that we need to walk so purely. Okay, so those two feed each other. Our obedience purifies us. It allows that Spirit of God to come in. It's that Spirit of God within us that continues to purify and sanctify us, so that we are able to walk continuously always in His ways. The city had no need of the sun or of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God illuminated it. The Lamb is its light. And the nations of those who are saved shall walk in its light. Remember, in its understanding, in its truth, in its wisdom. Okay, so these are going to be kingdoms. It's going to be businesses and structures that are based on the foundation. Because remember, all that we do, the businesses, the systems of our world today, flow out of people. Okay, out of their ideas. Okay, out of their what they're following after, whether it's after lust or greed or money or whatever it is. So, but these that are of the kingdom of heaven are always walking in the truth and understanding. And that's what the new kingdoms, the new businesses, the new entities that are going to be built upon. Okay, and the kings of the earth bring their glory and honor into it. Their glory and their honor is about the truth and the wisdom and the understanding of God. It's their glory and honor isn't of the things of this world, okay, that we see today. Its gate shall not be shut at all by day. There shall be no night there. Anyone who thirsts can come in. The gate is never shut. Anyone who thirsts. So those on the outside, if they start thirsting for righteousness, they can start being purified and coming in and being a part of that. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it. But there shall by no means enter in it anything that defiles or causes an abomination or a lie, and there are lies everywhere in this world now. Okay, so this is a very pure state of the human soul. Okay, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. Again, that Lamb's book of life is when the truth is written on you. We're the epistle. So if the truth, if you are, that's the same thing of having his name on your forehead. If you have his truth, and that's what governs you and directs you in your life, and not the lusts of this life, that's when you're a part of the book of life. That's when you have your name written on his name written on your forehead. So again, these were, I wanted to share this with you because these things are just getting more and more clear, okay, about what this kingdom looks like and how it's built on these things that we've been learning of God, of his divine nature, and it's going to start changing the way business is done. Systems are set up. And so people that are now lifted up by the world, okay, but not of God, though their businesses, their ways of operating, their governments, they're going to start crumbling, okay? They're not going to prosper anymore. God is going to lower them. Meanwhile, he's going to be exalting those who have been humbled to his word, which is his pure wisdom, loving kindness, and understanding. And they're going to be meeting him on that Mount Zion, receiving the new plans of how to operate, what systems, what businesses, how to structure business, all of this is going to be reworked. Okay, so you're going to have this, so as these are crumbling, these new ones are going to be being built up. And in my next video, I'll dive into a little bit more.